Ever since the missionary era, Christianity has had a positive impact on the socio-cultural arena throughout Africa, in addition to involvement in evangelism and discipleship. A variety of Christian communities were behind the founding and growth of primary, secondary, and tertiary educational institutions, health facilities, poverty alleviation projects, children homes, and even civic initiatives. As a result, not only does Christianity continue to grow across much of the continent, but it has also achieved significant public acceptance as a force of social good. Now, however, there is a worrying sense that certain practices are chipping away at its historic moral credibility and public strength. From an ecclesiological, with the rapid rise and media visibility of dubious pastors who are the false prophets of our day. Among the many self-proclaimed men of God or servants of God, the values that they have traditionally distinguished Christian ministry are increasingly absent. Among the many self-proclaimed men of God or God of men or servants of God, the values that have traditionally distinguished Christian ministry are increasingly absent. Values such as humility, compassion, selfless service, and servant leadership are now increasingly replaced by preoccupation with image consciousness, self-aggrandizement, and enlargement of personal ministry influence at whatever cost. Previously, values such as generosity and charity, accompanied by frugal lifestyle, were self-evident markers of good church leaders, pastors, clergy, and any kinds of church workers such as evangelists or catechists. In the face of difficulty, a poor Christian could expect to get temporal help even from a materially impoverished pastor who would share the little they have. These values of previous generations of Christian workers are increasingly replaced by what seems to be an indiscriminate emphasis on material blessedness as a marker of genuine relationship with God. Sometimes you are seen as blessed when you have cars, buildings, and fat bank accounts, but you are seen as cursed when you can't afford all these things. Therefore, pastors are to pray for you or become mediators between you and God to give you all these blessings that they felt are heavenly given. Our forefathers taught us that wealth comes from hard work, dedication, and focus. But this God of men or men of God made it so clear to us that it is God that gives wealth. And for you to get this wealth, you must give tithes, offerings, seed faith, first fruit. All these are shenanigan manipulations through which monies are taken from the poor and make them even poorer. I do not know of any other ministry that has damaged the image of the church in the African public square today more than that of the self-proclaimed prophets who have perverted what charismatic belief is a genuinely biblical prophetic ministry. While this phenomenon is not peculiar to Africa, this kind of public abuse of the pastoral and prophetic ministry seems to be more obvious here than elsewhere. For this growing breed of avaricious pastors, the greater their material accoutrement, the more apparent is the stamp of God's approval on their ministry. The Bible does warn that in the last days there will be many false prophets, and false prophets have come and gone throughout the history of church. Yet this is now prevalent in the church in Nigeria and in Africa as a whole. There are many reasons for the sharp rise in self-proclaimed prophets. In a continent where the church is growing exponentially faster than in any other period in history, the biblical paradox of both wheat and wheat growing together is real. Many of these prophets are taking advantage of the numerous challenges faced by a continent that is undergoing rapid social transformation. Africans are naturally religious people, as scholars have repeatedly pointed out. African cosmology does not separate the spiritual from the non-spiritual. Therefore, economic, medical, and cultural spheres of reality are open to multiple interpretations. Give, and it shall be given unto you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over, shall men give to your bosom. This has been the stock in trade and their USP, through which they siphon monies from unsuspecting, spiritually seeking individuals. Many charismatic leaders are recognized and respected as prophets, some with genuine histories of offering compelling spiritual leadership at significant social moments. Yet this background of good charismatic prophets who have lengthy track record of ministry has made it harder for most ordinary Christians to distinguish false prophets from genuine ones. Stories are told of how pregnant women disappeared when they go for night vigil in churches. Children disappeared and their parents look for them in pains. When most of these pastors are confronted, they use the police and other security agencies to intimidate one to quietness. Even charismatic prophets who have served well in the past are capable of being sidetracked by fame, success, and pride to the point of becoming charlatans to maintain their image, as Jesus mentioned in that parable of the wheat and the tares, in a field that is truly alive with the reign of the Spirit of God. It is hard to distinguish the work of the devil. Therefore, in Christian ministry, in theological reflection increasingly need to raise this issue and to keep searching the scriptures to guide more Christians in the right direction. Pastors are now seen with private jets and vehicles, limos, Rolls Royce, worth billions of naira. And the members that contribute these monies are living poor. Some can't even afford 3 square meals a day. According to the charismatic theology, as one of the leadership offices of the Old Testament, for many decades, the pluralistic religious worldviews of African cosmology and the obvious contemporary religiosity of Africans have been a focus for study among leading African scholars, including the currently of African cosmology and the obvious contemporary from evil attacks. One must be intentional in seeking protection from religious functionaries who have access to supernatural forces of good. This belief puts religious functionaries in a strategic position as special mediators. Most of these prophets or pastors, in order to seem so powerful, consult voodoo prophets. They consult witch doctors, charlatans, marabout, so as to give them charms, to perform miracles, and even inflict extrasensory perceptions on their members to control their feelings and turn them to fools. Possession of mystical power or intuition and knowledge of the workings of mysterious religious formulae and objects occupy center stage in religion as mouthpieces of transcendent beings and powers. Africans see religious functionaries as people who possess supernatural abilities to intervene in the uncertainties of life. Perspective. This is what explains the prevalence of the prophetic ministry, both in its genuine charismatic expression, but now in perverted form that is discrediting the entire church. Most couples lose their wives, some lose their husbands to pastors. Homes are broken every day because of fake pastors. They prophesy, they counsel, but within the counseling lies deceit and so much evil practices, to the extent that pastors are making people's wives pregnant in the name of miracle babies. You are the beauty of the night. Fading away, fading away.